Nobody expected Hollywood legends to become the last guardians of aviation history. From World War II fighters to rare flying boats, these celebrities own vintage aircraft worth millions and aviation immortality. Steve McQueen. Long before celebrity jet culture became a thing, Steve McQueen was already flying aircraft that looked like they escaped from another century. And honestly, that's what made him different. He wasn't chasing luxury or attention. He genuinely loved machines with stories behind them. While most stars were buying flashy sports cars, McQueen was climbing into noisy open cockpit airplanes that demanded real skill to fly. One of the most famous aircraft in his collection was the Boeing PT-17 Stearman, a World War II trainer aircraft that taught military pilots how to survive in the sky. The thing only made around 220 horsepower, which sounds tiny today, but once that radial engine started roaring, the entire airplane came alive. Flying it meant wind in your face, vibration through the controls, and absolutely no modern comfort. Cruising around 100 miles per hour? It wasn't fast. But speed was never the point. And then, there was the Piper J3 Cub. Tiny, lightweight, almost peaceful in the air. McQueen loved slow, scenic flying because it let him actually experience the world below instead of rushing past it. You could look down, recognize roads, rivers, even individual houses. That relaxed style matched his entire aviation philosophy perfectly. But the craziest aircraft in his collection may have been the rare 1931 Pitcairn Mail Wing, originally built to carry mail across America. Only a handful still exist today, and this is where McQueen stood apart from most collectors. He didn't collect airplanes because they were expensive. He collected authenticity. He believed aircraft should fly, not sit hidden inside climate-controlled hangars. And weirdly enough, that mindset helped inspire the celebrity aviation culture that exploded years later. Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford isn't just a celebrity who owns airplanes. He's a real pilot, the kind who studies procedures, flies regularly, and understands exactly how dangerous vintage aviation can become if you stop paying attention for even a second. That's why pilots respect him differently. One of the most iconic aircraft in Ford's collection is the de Havilland DHC-2 Beaver, first introduced in 1947. This thing wasn't designed for rich owners or smooth airport runways. It was built for brutal wilderness operations in Canada, where pilots landed on lakes, rough dirt strips, and isolated mountain terrain. And somehow, the Beaver became one of the greatest bush planes ever made. Its powerful radial engine gives the aircraft incredible low-speed performance, but the real magic is its STOL capability: short takeoff and landing. That means it can get airborne in unbelievably short distances and land where most airplanes simply can't. Imagine flying into remote wilderness with nothing but trees, water, and gravel around you. That's exactly what this aircraft was built for. Ford also reportedly owned a rare 1929 Waco 10 Taper Wing, an open cockpit airplane that demands full concentration. And this is what separates active aviators from casual collectors. These aircraft don't forgive lazy flying. They require constant rudder work, awareness, and discipline. One mistake on landing and things can go bad fast. But here's what makes Ford fascinating. He doesn't treat aviation like a hobby accessory. He's deeply involved in the aviation community, supports pilot programs, and genuinely flies these machines regularly. A lot of celebrities own airplanes. Very few actually become part of aviation culture itself. Jimmy Buffett didn't fly airplanes that matched Hollywood. He flew airplanes that matched his music: relaxed, coastal, free. Everything about his collection felt like it belonged somewhere between the Caribbean and an endless summer sunset. And honestly, once you see the aircraft he owned, It all makes perfect sense. One of Buffett's most famous airplanes was the Grumman G-21 Goose, a twin-engine amphibious aircraft first introduced in the late 1930s. This thing could land on water just as easily as a runway, which completely changed what flying meant. Instead of searching for airports, Buffett could literally touch down beside islands, beaches, and coastlines. And with twin 450 horsepower radial engines pushing it close to 190 miles per hour, the Goose had serious capability too. Think about this for a second. You leave Miami, and less than an hour later you're landing beside turquoise water somewhere in the Bahamas. That's not normal aviation anymore. That's freedom. And Buffett leaned fully into it. But this wasn't even his largest flying boat. He also operated the Grumman HU-16 Albatross, a much larger amphibious aircraft originally designed for long-range ocean rescue operations. Massive range, ocean capability, serious presence. It looked less like a private airplane and more like something from an old military expedition. And here's the part most people never realize. Amphibious aircraft are incredibly difficult and expensive to maintain. Saltwater corrosion alone becomes a nightmare, but Buffett kept flying them because they represented something bigger than transportation. His airplanes reflected his entire lifestyle, adventurous, laid back, and completely connected to the ocean. Brad Pitt. Loud engines, tight cockpits, machines built for survival instead of comfort. Brad Pitt reportedly owns one of the most legendary fighter aircraft ever created, the Supermarine Spitfire. And honestly, once you understand what this airplane represented during World War II, it starts making sense why collectors become emotionally attached to them. Pitt reportedly became fascinated with World War II aviation while filming Fury, the brutal tank warfare movie set during the final months of the war. Somewhere during that process, something clicked, because not long after, reports surfaced that he purchased a Spitfire and even began training to fly it. The Spitfire wasn't just another fighter aircraft. During the Battle of Britain, it became a symbol of resistance itself. Fast, agile, beautiful, almost unbelievably beautiful. Its Rolls-Royce Merlin engine produced around 1,400 horsepower and pushed the aircraft close to 440 miles per hour. In the 1940s, that was an insane performance. But engineering is what truly separates it. Those elliptical wings weren't designed to look elegant. They improved aerodynamic efficiency at high speed. The cockpit was incredibly narrow, visibility during landing was difficult, and the landing gear sat close together, making takeoffs genuinely demanding even for experienced pilots. And this is the part most people never see. Keeping a Spitfire flying today is brutally expensive. Parts are rare. Specialized mechanics are even rarer. Every flight feels like operating a museum piece that still wants to behave like a fighter aircraft. That's why collectors don't really see these airplanes as luxury toys. They see themselves as caretakers of living history. Tom Cruise. But if the Spitfire represented Britain's war hero, then the next aircraft became America's answer to domination in the sky. Tom Cruise owns a North American P-51 Mustang, and somehow that feels completely perfect for him. Fast, aggressive, demanding. This isn't the kind of airplane you casually park in a hangar for attention. The Mustang is one of the most respected fighter aircraft ever built. And Cruise actually flies his. That's what makes this different. The P-51 became legendary during World War II because it could escort bombers deep into enemy territory and still fight at incredibly high speeds. Before the Mustang arrived, bomber crews often lost protection halfway through missions. And then suddenly, everything changed. The aircraft's long range and devastating performance helped reshape air combat completely. Powered by a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine producing roughly 1,400 to 1,500 horsepower, the Mustang could exceed 430 miles per hour. Even today, hearing one fly overhead feels unreal. The sound alone is enough to stop people in their tracks. But flying it isn't easy. And this is where Warbirds become dangerous. The torque from that giant engine constantly pulls the aircraft sideways during takeoff. The controls are extremely responsive, and landings require absolute concentration. One bad approach can destroy millions of dollars in seconds. Cruise reportedly spends serious time training because owning a Mustang and operating one properly are two completely different things. Warbird aviation requires constant practice, specialized instruction, and massive maintenance budgets. But honestly, the aircraft fits his image perfectly. Ever since Top Gun, aviation has become part of Tom Cruise's identity, and the P-51 Mustang feels like the ultimate extension of that obsession. John Travolta. John Travolta didn't fall in love with tiny Warbirds. He fell in love with Airliners, massive four-engine machines from the golden age of aviation when flying still felt glamorous. And among aviation fans, Travolta is considered one of Hollywood's most serious pilots. Not just an enthusiast, a legitimately respected aviator with multiple certifications and decades inside the aviation world. One of the most incredible aircraft connected to him is the Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation. This thing looked like the future when it first appeared in the late 1940s. Four giant radial engines, each producing over 3,000 horsepower, pulled the aircraft through the sky at nearly 300 miles per hour. Back then, that felt revolutionary. And honestly, the Super Constellation represented something aviation may never fully recapture again. Elegant transatlantic travel, white glove service, luxury lounges, passengers dressed formally just to board the airplane. Flying wasn't treated like public transport. It felt like an event. With a range exceeding 5,000 miles, the aircraft connected continents long before modern jetliners took over. Travolta also reportedly owned a Douglas DC-3, another legendary propeller airliner that helped transform commercial aviation worldwide. Sadly, that aircraft was heavily damaged during hurricane destruction years ago. And this is where vintage aviation becomes heartbreaking. These machines are incredibly fragile once time starts catching them. Restoring vintage airliners is also unbelievably complicated. 4 engines, aging systems, rare replacement parts. Entire engineering teams are sometimes needed just to keep one aircraft operational. But Travolta embraced that challenge fully. Aviation became part of his everyday lifestyle, his home famously connected directly to a runway. And inside the aviation community, that level of commitment earned serious respect. David Gilmour. It doesn't start in Hollywood, it starts with music. Pink Floyd guitarist David Gilmour wasn't just obsessed with guitars and stadium tours. Behind the scenes, he quietly built one of the most respected vintage aircraft collections in the United Kingdom through a company called Intrepid Aviation. And for a while, his hangars looked more like a living airshow than a private collection. One of the standout aircraft in Gilmour's collection was the ultra-rare North American SNJ Texan, the naval version of the famous T-6 World War II trainer. These aircraft trained thousands of military pilots during the war, and flying one still demands serious skill today. Powered by a radial engine producing around 600 horsepower, the SNJ cruises close to 200 miles per hour while sounding absolutely incredible overhead. But that wasn't even the craziest part. Gilmour also owned Stearmans, aerobatic Yak 50s and Yak 50s 2s, plus the legendary Beech Stagger Wing. And honestly, the Stagger Wing was decades ahead of its time. retractable landing gear, enclosed luxury cabin, executive performance before executive aviation even properly existed. In the 1930s, this thing looked futuristic. What made Gilmour different was that he didn't just display airplanes for attention. He restored them, flew them, funded their survival. And maintaining aircraft like these takes enormous expertise, specialized engineers, and endless money. Through intrepid aviation, he helped preserve an important part of British aviation history while introducing thousands of people to flying warbirds and vintage aircraft culture. Dietrich Mateschitz. Dietrich Mateschitz didn't just collect airplanes. He created what feels like a private air force through the legendary The Flying Bulls. Based in Austria, the fleet became famous for operating some of the world's rarest flying warbirds. Among them is the iconic Lockheed P-38 Lightning, the twin-boom fighter capable of over 400 miles per hour. The collection also includes the brutal carrier-based Vought F-4U Corsair, the North American B-25 Mitchell, and the elegant Douglas DC-6B. But what truly separates the Flying Bulls is that these aircraft regularly perform at air shows, supported by full restoration teams, engineers, pilots, and mechanics dedicated to keeping aviation history alive. Paul Allen. Most people know Paul Allen as the co-founder of Microsoft. But inside aviation circles, he became famous for something entirely different: preserving historic aircraft in flying condition. That vision became the Flying Heritage Collection, one of the most respected warbird restoration projects ever assembled. Among its standout aircraft was the Curtiss P-40C Tomahawk, powered by the Allison Vi 1710 engine and capable of nearly 350 miles per hour during the war. Allen's team also restored the legendary Hawker Hurricane, whose wood and fabric structure demanded extreme restoration precision. Then came the rare Focke-Wulf FW-190, one of the most feared fighters of the era and incredibly difficult to rebuild today. Allen didn't just collect airplanes. He funded engineers, fabrication experts, and restoration teams dedicated to keeping aviation history alive in the sky instead of locked away in museums. Kermit Weeks. But even after all of that, this final collection exists on another level completely. Kermit Weeks didn't just collect vintage airplanes. He built an entire flying archive through the legendary Fantasy of Flight. Over the years, more than 140 rare aircraft passed through the collection, making it one of the most ambitious private aviation preservation projects ever created. Among the most iconic was the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, the four-engine bomber that became a symbol of Allied air power during World War II. Weeks also operated the enormous Short Sunderland and the amphibious Grumman J-2F Duck. Then there was the legendary Ford Trimotor, one of aviation's first passenger airliners. But preserving these aircraft means far more than displaying them. Engines wear out, metal corrodes, and structures weaken over time. Keeping them flying is a constant engineering battle against history itself. These celebrities didn't just buy airplanes. They preserved engineering masterpieces that shaped aviation history. From roaring World War II fighters to elegant flying boats, every aircraft on this list carries stories, sacrifice, and innovation. And thanks to these passionate owners, many of these legendary machines still rise into the sky today.